Welcome. Oh. So, welcome. Thank you. Is it on?
No. It's on.
Thank you. Oh, there we go.
So, you have noticed what we have been doing for the last months and the Chefs Congress last year, and so you decided to join us in order to know what was happening in this country in Europe with the history that it has related to Africa, but on a sense, what the gastronomy has to say and regarding new roles for people and social issues. So
Yes.
you're here to share with us, right?
I am, just to check out the scene here in Europe as we look how it's progressing in the States and really all over the world, Africa, Europe, Central America. And so it's very exciting to see the excitement around food, the excitement around individuals sharing who they are through their food, because food tells a story, and your story is told through your food. And so that's what we're seeing more and more.
So you are the editor of Cuisine Noir Magazine, which is
Yes.
a magazine that is spreading all over the world an idea of blackness in cuisine,
Yes.
regarding towards to the future, presenting new people.
History. So Cuisine Noir was started in really, so this year is 13 years since I've been publishing the magazine. 13, yes.
30.
13, 13, yep. And it started because there was a black chef who wasn't seeing black chefs being represented in food media in the States. And so he wanted to share more of the contributions, share more of how the influence around the world, around the States. And so that's how Cuisine Noir started. And so we really, as I started to tell more of these stories, wanted to connect us as Black people to say what's going on with our brothers and sisters in Africa, what's going on in Europe, what's going on in Central America, South America. And that's where we are today, is really bringing it all together and showing how we continue to share our traditions, our heritage, what we've learned from our ancestors through the food today. So it's been really exciting.
Okay. And now you have an antenna in Lisbon.
Yes, I do.
And what's that antenna been sending you?
You know, it's exciting because I've had Cape Verdean, I've went to your restaurant for Angolan, we talked to someone at Mozambique. It's very exciting to see that everyone is getting excited now about really showcasing the food and the fusion that's going on between traditional Portuguese cuisine and their home country cuisines. And so you're seeing those ingredients now really start to shine, which is very exciting.
But the American audience isn't really, acquainted with the African cuisine expressed by the former Portuguese colonies. Do you intend to bring us on in the future?
Absolutely. I'm still learning from chefs like yourself and others that, I've been privileged to meet this week. And I think we're just getting started. We're just getting started here in Lisbon.
And what's Margot's role in all that?
She has been introducing me.
We need to call the antenna because she's going to present.
She's
Where
been
is she?
presenting me and making sure that I know who is who in the space. So
Margot.
No, she's in here. Então.
There she is.
there she is. So Margot has been writing for me for 4 years, and so when she told me she was moving here, I said, we have to know what's going on in Lisbon. And so she connected me to Paulo and just everyone. I'm like, what's going on? Give me the stories. And so she's been wonderful at doing that. So
We're going to let you with Margot, right?
Yes, Margot. You take care of Sheree from now on, okay?
Awesome. Is it Benoit at this point, everybody? Hello, good evening. Thank you guys for coming here. I'm super, super excited to introduce Sheree. I came prepared. So I met Sheree really just 4 years ago by sending in a brief email. At that point, I was fairly new to freelance writing, and it was a very cold email. I was like, "Hi, I'm Margot. I'd like to write about food." And she took a chance, and here we are. But more about Sheree's background. Sheree Williams is the executive director of the Global Food and Drink Initiative. It's a media nonprofit with the mission of sharing and connecting and preserving the history and culture of the African diaspora through food, drink, and travel. GFDI publishes Cuisine Noir Magazine, which is the publication that I write for. We've gotten a chance to interview several really fantastic organizations and restaurateurs here in Lisbon. Some of them are here in the crowd tonight. In addition to that, we also tell stories about Black food and drink nationally, but also globally. So that's been a really exciting way to launch, my writing career. We also have a new podcast called Diaspora Food Stories, and that will be really the first multilingual food podcast. We also, through GFDI, Sheree's been able to really amplify the work of the diaspora across those different industries. And the goal of that is to really amplify the messaging, but also make these entrepreneurs more visible. And this is really an extension of what Conexión Africana this year has been. So we're really, really excited to have Sheree here, and welcome.
Thank you, thank you. So I won't be before you long, but I'll just share a little bit about who I am and then a little bit more about our work. So I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up outside Chicago. And so if anyone knows Chicago, it's a great food scene there too. And so growing up in a typical Black home, was just, we ate typical what we call soul food. So that was great. But then I would say just growing up and becoming an adult is when I start to look at the world and start to expand who I was through food. And sorry, I can't see everybody. And I always share a story when I went to California for the first time, because that's where I am now. I had, for the first time, a mixed green salad, because I was so used as a kid, when you talk about, again, food tells the story of who you are. So what I was eating was telling the story who I was at the time. And I was used to like iceberg lettuce and just really basic lettuce. And so I went to an event in San Francisco, and they served me a mixed green salad. And I was like, what is this? I had no clue. And so that really started my journey of learning more food and getting out, and then just learning people and co-workers, and learning about Indian food or Mexican food and things like that. And then to fast forward, I met the chef from Cuisine Noir, and that really opened my world of food as well, in terms of just exploring ingredients and everything, and just learning different cultures. I always grew up with someone who was from Jamaica. I always grew up with someone who's Trinidad, Tobago, or et cetera. But it started, my journey of learning who I am, and then as I was learning about others as well. And so with Cuisine Noir, I think what was important was these stories were not being told, because some of the things we heard from Black chefs was they weren't allowed to be who they were in the kitchen, because it was about the kitchen that you were working in. It was if you were French trained, you're doing that type of classical trained cuisine. And so therefore, that was who they were, and they had to be that person in that kitchen. And so now, we're looking at stories so those stories of who they were, the contributions weren't being told, and we wanted to make sure that we were telling that. From the stories of the South, from, the enslaved days, all of that, we wanted to bring that forward. The first person who started Cato eggnog in the country, to who started mac and cheese, all of those stories we wanted to tell, we wanted to preserve. And so that was part of the work. And then, again, moving forward, as it started growing, I said, what is going on across the African diaspora? Because that's where we are. And that started my journey of really reaching out to the continent of Africa, to Europe, to Canada, and all of that. And what we're seeing is definitely today, I would fast forward a little bit more. Today, again, excitement around, and I would say this pertains to any culture of just being who you are, and that's what we're about. Represent who you are on your plate and connect that food to where it's from. And so you're seeing now more restaurants popping up, more ingredients being sourced out of the natural environments coming together. You're seeing, cookbooks, which is very exciting, more than ever before. There was a long time ago a deficit in ethnic cookbooks. So you're seeing Nigerian cookbooks, you're seeing, Ethiopian cookbooks, more soul food cookbooks. All of those are very exciting. And what else would you say? More events. One of the things, I'll come back to food, that you're seeing a lot of is in the wine industry. In the U.S., when I took over Cuisine Noir 13 years ago, there was a small amount of black winemakers, but now you're seeing that scene explode even more, which is very exciting. So you're seeing that. We're seeing an explosion in the spirits industry, bourbon, Kentucky bourbon, which is very big. And so food is a safe place to start conversations, and it's a safe place to then begin to explore who people are. And it's a safe place to explore just to know who people are and to, continue conversations that need to be had. So I don't know if anyone's asking any questions. I'll stop there because I feel like I'm talking too much. But again, our work really is about telling stories that are not told, inspiring, and also representation. It's very important that individuals see themselves in positions that normally they wouldn't see themselves in. And that's what, the inclusion, diversity, and inclusion is about. So applauding Paolo for really, incorporating more of what you see in Portugal in an event like this, which is very important. So that is something that is very important in doing as well. Let me see, what else in the States? And then I'm happy to answer any questions. The other thing that we talk about is we talk about food, and then there's the culture that comes with the food, right? And then there's the language that comes with the food. So those three things are very important that we say. And we're noticing now that language is starting to become the native tongue of individuals, and how they express themselves through the food is starting to come back as well. So that's very important. So, in the work that we do, we always say, keep the food, preserve the culture, and then ultimately preserve the language. So
let's go and make you some questions, right? Andrea?
Yes. You mentioned the example of black winemakers.
Yes.
Out of curiosity, there's a famous guy that's up and coming in California that's from Cape Verde that makes a wine called Saudade.
Oh,
Yes,
you
see? You have to look that up. So
New
there's
one on me.
A person from Cape Verde, from Fogo, who emigrated to California and who's making wine with a Cape Verdean label on it.
Oh, got it. And so that is great, because I love being able to know I try to make sure I have my global antennas out there on who's doing what, where. So thank you for that.
So about Cuisine Noir, it's very exciting. I've been reading some numbers through Margot and online and so on. Your work is admirable. Obviously, the content is well curated. It goes in depth. But I think that now that you have these other antennas, it's an excellent chance for you to dig deeper into the real African origins. How do you intend to go about it?
So I always make sure that as a journalist, I'm very good at researching and digging, but also, if I'm in a country or something, who can I go to? So I do have some African experts that I work with, because that's what they do, researching African cuisine on the continent. So I have someone that I'm working with right now. She's in Nigeria. And so she's on some projects we're working on. And so she's telling me who are some, and she's researching them as well. So she's like, it's a big continent, I'm researching that. So to me, it's important to go to those who are there, who are more of an expert than I am because I don't pretend to be an expert. And so we've got a lot of work to do. And so that's the exciting part. I always say we will never run out of stories. We will never run out of stories because there's too many to be told and too many to be discovered.
Yeah, it's a very, very vast subject indeed.
Yes.
I had a question. So regarding the most well-known restaurants,
Oh.
of course there are black chefs working there. Do you think that they have place to show off their work in order to have it on the menu? I don't know, because in here, a chef, when he wants to do a menu, I mean, either he does it by himself or he listens to the team. And it's very common nowadays, which is great, to listen to the team in order to make the new menu. And
Right.
I was telling on the end, if you see on American menus in the US, if you see a little bit of Africa here and there, is it possible or no?
You know, it really depends on the chef, the head chef, and Andre, you know this, and the culture of the restaurant, right? Are they open to, you know, trusting a little bit of creativity and
Are they
listening to?
opening?
Yeah, you know, it really depends. Some are and some are not. Some want that traditional, this is what works, so we're not going to change it because that's what's bringing in the money, that's what the clientele wants. But I think when you have some, you know, and unfortunately, I can't really think of any off the top of my head, but I'm not saying that they don't exist. If you have a chef who is willing to take a chance to be creative, to be curious, then I think that it can happen. But in a standard restaurant, it's usually a formula. This is what works. This is what we're moving forward with. And a lot of times, that's why chefs go out on their own, right? Because they're not able to do that expression of what they want to. So it's like, you know what? I'm going to go start my own thing and do my food. So hence, that's what starts someone leaving.
Yeah, I mean, our project of Conexión Africana is about, you know, empowering and showing the African talent. Do you have African American chefs that are part of the star system? Do you have enough of them?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. In terms of, so tell me again.
No, in terms of just visibility. I mean, you have this whole star
We
system of chefs in the States with the TV programs and the shows and the festivals.
Yes.
Are there enough? Are African American chefs well represented?
Okay, so when it comes to events and things, no. What happens in the States is they tend to go to the same chefs over and over again. So some of the chefs that we know that would be great for events are not represented. So that's where we come into play, right? Is to make sure, one, can we be a connector to say, you know what, these are some great chefs that you should probably feature, you should probably include in your events. But if not, a lot of what's going on now is you have pop-ups of Black festivals that are saying, you know what, we're not invited to those events for whatever reason. We're going to create our own events where we can showcase our talent. So that's what you're seeing now with some of the big events that are popping up in the States. And then the other thing we do too is not just chefs, but who are your home cooks? Who are your hometown heroes that are making a mean pot of greens or whatever the case may be that, you know what, they can be showcased to. And so we really try to get all of that talent from the celebrity down to, again, the home cooks to make sure that, because they're telling a story too. So.
Fantastic, great. Thank you for sharing your.
Thank you. Thank you.
Obrigado a todos. Amanhã às 10
Thank
seguimos.
you.
Obrigado,
Thank
Sheree.
you. Thank you.